Still the Place with Laura Layton,
Courtney Thorne-Smith,
and Daphne Zuniga, an iHeartRadio podcast.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to another Melrose Minute. So, one of the things that comes up in this episode, that comes up in many future episodes, is that Allison is dealing with Amanda, who is a very mean boss. She's not quite so mean at the workplace yet, but she's mean because she stole Allison's pretend boyfriend.
I'm also a little confused on the structure at work because she's not exactly her boss, right?
Yeah, Lucy's her boss.
Right, Lucy's her boss.
Amanda
and like Amanda is the art director. Help me understand exactly what the structure is.
Amanda's the super attractive boyfriend.
Well, I know she's super attractive. Got that.
That's what her official title is. I believe that's what she does in advertising.
I'm going to annoy the woman who's playing Allison for the rest of her life.
I think she's kind of parallel above, like say she's a number above on the call sheet. Like using it in actor language, like she
probably was
above on the call sheet.
So she's like the director in her department, and she works in a parallel department, like not in the same exact department, but they have to work together.
Yeah.
And it seems like Allison is on a rung below in a different department, but they have to work together. So she's not her direct boss. She's not her direct report.
Exactly.
So what?
So I just wanted to be clear.
So, but she does become her boss.
She's awfully bossy, and sort of it is definitely an added layer to being irritated by how pretty she is, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we're kind of talking about when you've dealt with bad bosses, and I have to say, there was a time in this industry, and you guys both know this, that people were allowed to behave horribly. And one of the good things that come out of the Me Too movement, that is less accepted. But don't you remember, people used to be allowed to behave horribly at work? And I'm sure that's across the line. Like before there was HR, I'm sure everybody of a certain age had a time when somebody was literally throwing staplers across the office. Do you guys have experiences?
Who did you work with? Well, you're talking about a boss, like a director or a producer, or are you talking about a fellow
or just
actor?
like a coworker?
Yeah. Well, when Me Too started, there were stories of famous stories of producers, and they'd throw things at assistants, and we all just sort of shrugged like it was okay. Remember that? Like, oh yeah, he's crazy. And now suddenly it's not okay. People started to see they had rights. But do you remember that? I remember people who had power on sets being able to yell and scream, and we all just sort of hid and allowed it to happen.
Well, because we thought that's how it works. The seniority,
you just thought you had to accept
it. The pyramid, the hierarchy is the way it goes. And when I put myself back there, it makes total sense. It's only now in hindsight where people who've probably put up with a lot worse than us are like saying, no, this is BS, not doing it anymore, not okay, that you go, oh yeah, it shouldn't be.
And I think there were like specifically like some commercial directors that just had a reputation for being absolutely hardcore and would scream at crowds of people, but it was still considered like, well, but if you want to work and if you want to get this great job and work with this great director, you just put up with that. And it's really like a mark of cachet to work with this guy. But what you have to endure is his screaming and yelling and the way he talks to his people. And like that, you're saying that it was just considered like, okay, that's just what you have to put up with. And I get to say that I've done this job or this commercial or whatever with this notoriously, obnoxious
and it could get me somewhere.
Yeah. And the other mark of cachet, like you tried to complain, they'd say there are 1,000 people who would want your job. And the other mark of cachet was for the person throwing a tantrum. I worked with someone who was a real bully once, and he actually said, I love that I get to do whatever I want and people have to accept my apology because I'm so powerful.
Oh, actually said the words out loud.
He said the quiet part out loud.
Wow.
Actually said it, that was indicative of his power, that he could do crazy things and people had to put up with it because he had all the power. So it was a huge awakening, like a rude awakening for these people when things like HR started and you got to say, you don't get to, or cell phones started, right?
Yeah.
So when it first started, do you remember this? Like people would actually film people doing it, and it was so or record them throwing a tantrum, and people were like, oh, that's not okay. Like it used to be, well, we have to put up with it because they're so creative. So the people who were being put up with felt powerful because they got to act out and be forgiven. They didn't have to grow up.
And people who say that quiet part out loud probably don't just say it once. They probably go around saying it. Like they've repeated that phrase and they're wearing that sort of as a confident, hey, I can do whatever I want
Yeah.
thing.
When I
Like
worked
probably
with the
doesn't
bully
just
I'm
say that
talking
once.
about and I complained about it, and instead of telling the bully he had to stop bullying, they said, well, Courtney, we could find someone to like be with you. It's like, I don't need a bodyguard. I need to like have the bully stop being a bully. But
So
they
that
didn't know
dawned
how
on
to
you
do
back
it.
then? Was this the 80s or the 90s? Because I'm trying to think of, or the 2000s. Like, at what point that you thought that?
Well, I think it was as I grew up. So, when I was younger, you just sort of get quiet and there's this thing of like, so everybody's sort of talking about how awful they are, but there was no sense of we shouldn't have to put up with that.
Yeah.
Or like, I think it wasn't until the Me Too movement that kind of people went, oh, no, wait a minute. No,
Right.
like you
So
don't
what
get
I'm
to
saying
bully
is, did you
200
say that?
people.
But you spoke up, right? You're
I
saying?
did finally speak up. Yeah.
So this was after Me Too, or did you think
No, it was
way
before.
back? Okay, so you were like, you thought this is not okay. I mean,
But the
that's unique.
response was,
Yeah.
well, we can't do anything about him. So
Yeah.
we're just going to try to protect you within the framework of this system, which is that he gets to do whatever he wants. And
Yeah.
we'll try to take care of you in quiet ways without upsetting him.
I know, but what I'm
It was
saying is
crazy.
it didn't dawn on a lot of us back then that it was wrong. Like I would have, we're sort of like, what's that term? Where you just kind of go, this is the way it is. Like I wouldn't have dawned on
Desensitized.
me. I would just go, oh, he's a creep, or he's
Yeah.
a this. And I say he because most of them were he, director, producer, director, producer. There are so few women. But I would never, in fact, I probably would go to my therapist and say, fix me so I can deal with this. I would never go and think that the whole system needs a change ever.
Because we were so conditioned to accept this behavior. It was like there were famous stories, right, about these producers and oh yeah, he's crazy. But at no point did people say, until that movement, did people say, oh no, that's not okay. And I thought what was so interesting when Me Too came out was that somebody would complain about somebody, and then all of these people would come out, and each woman had thought she was the only one.
Right. People don't just say it once. They don't just do it once.
Yeah.
Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang just won Podcast of the Year at this year's iHeart Podcast Awards.
Oh, wow. You're kidding. Stop it.
Lady Gaga will take home the Innovator Award at Monday's iHeartRadio Music Awards. Now, these iHeart Award winners are teaming up on a brand new episode of Las Culturistas.
Thank you so much for having me here, but please don't make me get angry about anything in public.
Just open the free iHeartRadio app, search Las Culturistas, and listen now.
Our iHeartRadio Music Awards are coming back Monday, March 17th on Fox, starring Bad Bunny,
Glorilla,
Kenny Chesney,
Money Long,
Nelly,
your host,
iHeartRadio.
LL Cool J,
Are you guys ready to have some fun tonight?
plus iHeart Innovator Award recipient Lady Gaga,
iHeart Icon Award recipient Mariah Carey.
and iHeart Breakthrough Award recipient Gracie Abrams.
Watch live on Fox Monday, March 17th.
At 8/7 Central.
I started to live a double life when I was a teenager. Responsible and driven, and wild and out of control. My head is pounding. I'm confused. I don't know why I'm in jail. It's hard to understand what hope is when you're trapped in a cycle of addiction. Addiction took me to the darkest places. I had an AK-47 pointed at my head. But one night, a new door opened, and I made it into the rooms of recovery. The path would have roadblocks and detours, stalls and relapses. But when I was feeling the most lost, I found hope with community, and I made my way back. This season, join me on my journey through addiction and recovery, a story told in 12 steps. Listen to Crumbs as part of the My Cultura Podcast Network, available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Pod of Rebellion, our new Star Wars Rebels rewatch podcast. I'm Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, I'm Tia Sircar.
I'm Taylor Gray.
And I'm John Lee Brody.
But you may also know us as Harrison Dula, Spectre 2.
Sabine Wren, Spectre 5.
And Ezra Bridger, Spectre 6 from Star Wars Rebels.
Wait, I wasn't on Star Wars Rebels. Am I in the right place?
Absolutely.
Each week, we're going to rewatch and discuss an episode from the series.
And share some fun behind-the-scenes stories.
Sometimes we'll be visited by special guests like Steve Bloom voices Zabarelio Spectre 4, or Dante Bosco voices Jaikel, and many others.
Sometimes we'll even have a lively debate.
And we'll have plenty of other fun surprises and trivia too.
Oh, and me? Well, I'm the lucky Ghost Crew stowaway who gets to help moderate and guide the discussion each week. Kind of like how Kanan guided Ezra in the ways of the Force. You see what I did there?
Nicely done, John.
Thanks, Tia.
So, hang on, because it's going to be a fun ride.
Cue the music.
Listen to Pod of Rebellion on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, it was very touching. There were times when I thought to even say it out loud and to go through it, there's a certain form of trauma. I mean, I don't think I was traumatized in the way that a lot of women were that came out, but I think there's a mental and emotional that you kind of like an inventory that I went through going, oh, that wasn't okay. Or maybe this wasn't, having worked all through the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s.
But I think you're right.
It's changed.
Yeah, things have changed, and the accountability, I think, is just there's much more of a consciousness about it and a conversation about it.
The system back then was more rigid. It was more. There were fewer inroads. Now it's like you see all these people. There's work everywhere because of phones, and it's easy to create content and so many outlets that I think like people. It was very small and rigid before to get into this industry. And the system was so kind of like, it felt very locked and stiff. You know what I mean? And now you're in a generation, these kids are like, these are gig employment. They're into like, I don't want to work here anymore. I don't like my boss. This is who they are. There's that personality
well, that's
too.
What was so heartbreaking to me too. Like so much was heartbreaking about the Harvey Weinstein stuff. He really did have the power to ruin the careers of women who refused to sleep with him. Yeah. Like, how can that be? That was the 80s. It's not like it was the 20s. Like that was the 80s. That was so recent.
But he came out of the 70s and the 60s and the 50s were in the 40s. I mean, it just kind of kept going.
That supported that behavior.
Of course, I agree. But he didn't invent it.
Hotel rooms.
It was normal for him.
It went on for so long.
Wrong. I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like when you look back to where he grew up in it. He and his, I mean, I read a little bit about it.
Look, it was objectively hideously wrong, but you think of how embedded in the system that was.
Yes, of course.
Right? That's insane. So there's no wonder we sort of thought, well, there's a price to be paid, and there really is this attitude in our business. And I hope it's better for young actresses coming up now, but it's that there are 100 people who would like to be here. Like, just suck it up. I always knew this was my code when I knew something was wrong. If they say to me, be a sport, be a sport. Like, I've done stunts I shouldn't have done that I would not do today.
Do people actually say those words to you? Be a sport?
You've never heard that? Daff, have you heard that?
No.
In a work context?
Oh. Well, I have. I hear whenever, now I know. Now it's like, if they say be a sport, it means put yourself in danger for us. And I'm like, I'm not a sport. I'm here to take care of myself, because I have taken risks for stunts that now look, the vast majority of stunt coordinators and stunt guys are super careful, and they say, are you comfortable? Does this work for you? But I've done a couple of lower budget things where they just kind of wanted to get it done, and they wanted to see my face, and they were like, you can do it, right? You're a sport.
And they said, be a sport.
You're a sport. And I was like, yeah, I'm a sport. Like that very young part of me that wanted to hang out with the guys.
I'm a sport.
Like now the older part of me is much stronger in protecting the younger part of me. But I would do it. Like there was one time I was doing a stunt and I was running and jumping into a moving car. And I look back on that and I go, wait a minute. Like,
yeah,
it could have ruined my life.
Very, very wrong.
Like not just hurt me and I couldn't finish the day's work. Like, you can be so hurt doing something like that that it could have ruined my life.
Could have gone very, very wrong for being a sport.
That I could do it. Yeah, like the little tomboy in me wanted to prove I could do it. And it's heartbreaking. All these, come on, be a sport. I have been pressured to do things. For the most part, I stood up to it. But I've been pressured to do plenty of things I didn't want to do on sets where I had a director. I may have shared this on another episode, but when they said, everybody out there thinks you're being a baby.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's
everybody
awful.
Thinks you're being a baby. And it's just like, it's so cruel, that kind of.
And then you say,
by the way, they were lying. I came out and the crew was like, good for you for standing. Like the crew was 100% on my side. Crews are amazing. They were 100% on my side, but they tried to manipulate me. It was just like I said to Allison, and Allison said to Amanda in the upcoming episode, and she says, everybody thinks so.
Except for Billy.
Yeah, except for Billy. I hope that it's better. I hope that there's more support for young actors and actresses, that they don't have to do things that they're uncomfortable with.
Yeah. We need more minutes.
We need to talk about we're out of minutes. We have so much to say in so few minutes.
That was just a Melrose minute. That's all.
Welcome
just a little light
business.
topic.
Welcome to the industry. Come on in, guys.
All right. Well, there'll be more minutes.
This is why the best advice is, if you can do anything else to make a living, go do it.
I don't know. Honestly,
we can discuss that for a
I'm insanely grateful for my career. I've had, for the most part, a great time, and I think it's changing. I think the industry is becoming more accountable, and there are more protections now for young people. And I think young people are better educated about their rights and what they can expect.
Yeah.
I have so much faith in these upcoming generations. I really do. I think they're amazing.
Well, on that note,
always
lovely to chat with you ladies for this Melrose Minute. Thank you for listening. We'll see you soon for another episode.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang just won Podcast of the Year at this year's iHeart Podcast Awards.
Oh, wow. You're kidding. Stop it.
Lady Gaga will take home the Innovator Award at Monday's iHeart Radio Music Awards. Now, these iHeart Award winners are teaming up on a brand new episode of Las Culturistas.
Thank you so much for having me here, but please, please, please don't make me get angry about anything in public.
Just open the free iHeart Radio app, search Las Culturistas, and listen now.
Our iHeartRadio Music Awards are coming back Monday, March 17th on Fox, starring Bad Bunny,
Glorilla,
Kenny Chesney,
Money Long,
Nelly,
your host,
iHeartRadio,
LL Cool J.
Are you guys ready to have some fun tonight?
Plus iHeart Innovator Award recipient Lady Gaga,
iHeart Icon Award recipient Mariah Carey,
and iHeart Breakthrough Award recipient Gracie Abrams.
Watch live on Fox Monday, March 17th
at 8/7 Central.
Are you hungry? Colleen Witt here, and Eating While Broke is back for season 4 every Thursday on the Black Effect Podcast Network. This season, we've got a legendary lineup serving up broke dishes and even better stories. On the menu, we have Tony Baker, Nick Cannon, Melissa Ford, October London, and Carrie Harper Howie turning Big Macs into big moves. Catch Eating While Broke every Thursday on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite shows. Come hungry for season 4.
Hi, I'm Bob Pittman, Chairman and CEO of iHeartMedia. I'm excited to introduce a brand new season of my podcast, Math and Magic, Stories from the Frontiers of Marketing. I'm having conversations with some folks across a wide range of industries to hear how they reach the top of their fields and the lessons they learned along the way that everyone can use. I'll be joined by innovative leaders like Chairman and CEO of Elf Beauty, Tarang Amin, legendary singer-songwriter and philanthropist Jewel.
Being a rock star is very fun, but helping people is way more fun.
And Damian Maldonado, CEO of American Financing.
I figured out the formula. I just have to work hard, then that's magic.
Join me as we uncover innovations in data and analytics, the math, and the ever-important creative spark, the magic. Listen to Math and Magic on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast.